You're listening to Beyond the Metagame, a podcast where two experienced competitive Super Smash Bros. Players look beyond the controller to analyze and break down the unspoken psychological framework of the competitive scene. Welcome, broadcasting to the entirety of the Super Smash Bros. Community. This is Beyond the Metagame. I'm your host, Peon, this week live from a submarine. I'm joined, as always, by our co-host, Abhi. Abhi, how's it going, big boy?
All right, what kind of submarine are we talking? Are we talking one of those nuclear ones? Are we talking American, Russian? Is this, like, what year are we in? Like, paint the picture.
Okay, I want you to think of this, Abhi. Close your eyes. The interior of the submarine is bound in leather, okay? There's some turbulence. It kind of doesn't feel too good in the lower back, or does it, right? That's the thing. Michelle Obama's there. She's grilling up some omelets, okay? I believe
whoa.
We just picked up Mila Kunis from her ranch. It's like do you think it's like an Air Force One for submarines, Abhi? You know, like Barack Obama, the Trump, they have like a Air Force One, they have their own private airplane. There's got to be some sort of first lady submarine that Michelle still just drives around in.
This is like the second time that you've like described Michelle like cooking shit for us. Is that all you think of the first lady of the United States?
Come on, no. Michelle is an author. She's a humanitarian, but she also is involved with food, right? One of her big things with the first lady was to reform the nutritional programs within public schools. I mean, come on, man. Name someone more maternal, more majestic. When you think maternal, what do you think of? Nurturing, right? Nurture, nutrition, food, omelets in the submarine. We're getting crazy, Abhi. All right, keep up.
We're getting crazy close to perpetuating outdated gender stereotypes. That's what you're being. But
I'm just undoing all of Michelle's work by accident. Okay, Abhi. Look. It's good to be here, but a lot has happened on the mainland of Smash, Smash world. Okay, while we've been in the ocean, as the viewers and watchers of the YouTube channel have probably realized, we did not upload an episode last week, because of some pretty horrific events that were happening in the Smash community. We don't really want to get into that right now. This just isn't the vehicle with which to do so. But I did make a sort of message about all of the abuse that's been going on within the Smash community on the YouTube channel, if you're curious as to our thoughts. Abhi told me in private that what I said also echoes his sentiments. Will you verify that, Abhi, so people don't think I'm boxing you out?
Yeah. What Peon speaks for both of us in his statement on the YouTube. It is a fantastic statement. I recommend you go listen to it because I think it sums up what we should be thinking about and how we should be moving forward in this time. And I think you did a fantastic job. So, good statement.
Thank you, buddy. Yeah, it was a hard one to make. Obviously, it's a topic that you and I never would have dreamed we would have had to touch, and it's tragic. And I don't want to minimize that, but right now, this is not the platform that we're going to be using to discuss it. Abhi, we do have the most amazing guest, Dabuz, right? I know you and I were both super excited about this coming on this week's show. It's honestly, and we've had a lot of great guests, but it's at least tied for my favorite interview of all time. Dabuz's energy, his experience, his skill set, which comes through his various sentences, was just so contagious, so fun to be around. And I think it's worth acknowledging we recorded this interview a week ago. This was sort of before a lot of these allegations and horrific truths came out. And so you might notice the tone of the interview will seem pretty lighthearted. It'll be pretty happy. This is about Dabuz. This is about competitive Smash. And so we just want to acknowledge that because I think if the interview had been recorded today, yesterday, after these events, maybe, Dabuz would have acknowledged it. Maybe we would have acknowledged it. So don't think that Dabuz was ignoring or not trying to, bring into those topics up. That wasn't the case. This was just kind of recorded before all that happened.
Yeah. I think he was a fantastic guest. Absolutely lovely guy. one of the sweetest people that I think I've had the pleasure of talking to. Love picking his brain. Very, very smart person. And I think it shows. I nerd out a lot about how much he thinks about the game like a student, and that is so important to me on so many levels of basically encouraging people to basically study the game and to be students of the game and be not only temporary students of the game but perpetual students of the game. And I think Dabuz emulates that and sets a really, really good role model for that, and a really, really good role model for basically a top player, a top competitor in this game, and he is a shining star that is lit, a beacon of hope that is lit in this time that we find ourselves in. So
wow. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I do agree. But before we get right into the Dabuz interview, I do want to take a little moment to plug the Beyond the Metagame Discord server, if only for the reason that right now, Smash community, we're kind of downtrodden. Some bad things have happened, and I have personally found solace within the BTM community's Discord. Right, everybody's super nice. You can get some great games. I've been trying out, 8.0. A lot of the buffs, a lot of the new characters have been matchmaking with a lot of people on the server. So if you want to play against me, you want to play against AV, you just kind of want to, nestle into a very positive component within the Smash community. A positive community within the greater Smash community. I would very much recommend the Beyond the Metagame Discord. But AV, I say we head right into this damn thing. You have anything else to tease before we get into the interview proper?
I don't really have anything left. I look forward to our past selves talking with Dabuz. Send it away, Peon.
All right, guys, all that and more in just 1 second. Welcome back to Beyond the Metagame. This week, AV and I are joined by the legend, Dabuz. You know him as the best Olimar and Rosalina in the entire world. He's currently ranked 9th in the Fall 2019 PGR. Lifetime, he was ranked 4th in the entirety of Smash 4. And when he isn't making bizarre combinations of food, such as milk and Pepsi, he is making some killer content on YouTube and Twitch. Dabuz, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Yo, what's up, guys? Just glad to be here now. Do this interview. Figure it'd be fun, talk about a lot of different things. I like talking a lot. I love the sound of my voice. So
that's what we like to hear.
That's why I make a decent streamer, I think.
Good, man. Well, yeah, let's talk about that. So you're really doubling down on the content space. Making a splash on YouTube and Twitch. In these crazy times right now in the global pandemic, when competitive Smash is sort of put on standby, how does that affect someone like you who this is your thing?
I kind of just have to change up what I do completely and put a lot more effort into things I can do. Because obviously without tournaments, I was a lot of my weekends. Like, for example, I have a schedule, right? And up until the end of August, I had an event about 3 out of every 4 weeks of each month, like for traveling. So that was a huge portion of my time. Right now, it's what do I do at that time? I guess just stream. And so that's, what I think myself and a lot of players are doing. Just I got nothing to do besides play video games at home. Might as well stream it. Make some money. Have some fun. There you go. So it wasn't actually a hard transition, to be honest, because of that. Because streaming's fun anyway.
Yeah, no, I could imagine. And yeah, that's funny when you put into perspective someone like you who's going to be out of, leaving their house, leaving their state 3 or 4 times a month. You're pretty much a full-time businessman, taking a briefcase, going out and about. So that must be a huge adjustment. But I'm glad you're taking to it well. Dabuz, I don't know if I've ever really heard the story of your sort of Smash origin story, right? I think of you now. As long as I've watched competitive Smash, you've been a force within it. You really symbolize competitive Smash in my mind. You're very much the epitome of competitive Smash. You and your laptop up there, the intensity with which you compete. Will you take a step back, take us down, give us a little story time like Grandpa, and I'm just imagine me as like your grandson, Dabuz, if you will.
Oh my
And
God.
will you tell me like how did you get to this point? Like what led you to being the Smash Titan you are?
So I think it's kind of funny. So when I was like middle school, my friends would play Melee like casually after school. Like I go to my friend's house, play free falls, items. I pick Samus. I go into like the upside FD, shoot charge shots. Everyone gangs with me. Then that was it. And then Brawl came out, and you know what my like 14-year-old mind? Oh, I think I was like 13 when Brawl was announced, and they announced Wi-Fi, and I'm like, oh my God, I can play online. I'm gonna be the best player in the world online, easy. Like that's going my 13-year-old head is just I'm gonna do that. And so Brawl came out, and I immediately just started looking for places to find. I looked up like Smash tournaments online, like on Google, or I think it was Ask Jeeves at the time I used, whatever it was. And it led me into Smash Sports, and I used to use GameFAQs as a little kid. And then like I was like, oh, there's a Smash GameFAQs thing, and that kind of led me to things like All Is Brawl and stuff. And I was just kind of a Wi-Fi warrior. Like when you think of like that typical like kid who everyone knows online, but thinks, he's not gonna be good offline. He's gonna suck offline. There's no way. He abuses Wi-Fi strats. He plays a lame character, etc. And I went to a few events like when Brawl came out. Like every now and then I could get a carpool vibe. My family's very they didn't like me traveling to these events because they didn't trust people like at events, and they're very overprotective parents for sure. So I would very luckily get like a ride every now and then from like DK Wolf, for example, actually, or a player who I don't think anyone knows of anymore, Vanek Pi, to tournaments like once every few months for the first couple years of Brawl. And my parents have to know, when I'm going to be back, where I'm going, who I'm with, phone numbers, everything. So otherwise, there's just grinding all those Brawl ladders all the time. GameFAQs, like character boards, Smash boards, online tournaments. I was just grinding those. And it was about a couple years. It was like actually after Brood came to America for Apex, right? In I think 2009 or 10, whatever it was, and he got second. And everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's best Olimar ever." And now I'm like 16 at the time, right? And I'm like, no, I'm like to myself, like I'm saying, like, there's no way. I'm watching his gameplay better than him. He's literally not even that good. How is he getting this far? I'll do better than him at these tournaments. If that's how could you beat these people? Like I seriously thought that because I was shitting everyone online. I was beating like all the good players online, and then I just started lying to my family about where I was going because I was pissed. I was just like,
Yeah.
oh, hell no. I'm going to, go to all these events in the city. I'll go out to, like, Jersey events, PA events, whatever. So now I built up trust with my family about, like, going to events. They knew people like DK Will and stuff. So I just started lying about them, to them about where I was going. And I started able to traveling a lot more for Brawl events in, like, 2000, I think it was, like, 10, 11. I didn't actually play offline for that long because Brawl kind of got boring to me as the game started dying. But yeah, and I was kind of dominant scene for the most part in Tri-State when I was traveling. Like I was ranked number 1 in Tri-State with people like Nairo, Vinny, like M2K, ADHD. Like there was a whole season where I was better than all of them according to rankings, and I was always like in that top 10 of the rankings, like consistently just beating all of them, being a threat. I think I actually had a positive lifetime record in Mewtwo King. Actually, a little funny story is my second event ever. Like when I went to offline events, wasn't traveling regularly. I beat Atomisk at the time, who was considered like one of the best players in Tri-State, and everyone was like, there's no way, it's a fluke. But I remember beating him and like Ninja Link and Jash and all these top 10 like Tri-State players at my second event offline. And
That's awesome, dude. Like even just what you're starting to say is like I find that story is the story that every optimistic young smasher like wants to have, Like I had a similar experience with you where instead of watching Brood and Azalamar, I was a Captain Falcon player in Smash 4 and I saw at the Fatality Saga in 2GG, they had like a Captain Falcon round robin with 0. Fatality Pluto was a legendary event. And I'm like, man, these guys suck. Like I could beat all these guys. The difference between you and I, Dabuz, is that I was wrong.
I'll be honest, I think it was so much easier to be good in Brawl days because people didn't care as much. Like you went to a Brawl event, people, practicing and chilling, I guess. But I don't think people really like grinded hard in Brawl because a lot of the incentive for people going to events was just hang out with friends as opposed to like being the best in the world. Now with esports, a lot of people actually seriously grind. So I do think it's a lot harder nowadays to be good and be a cocky little kid and prove it than it was 10 years ago.
Right, but I mean, there's something to be said about the fact that it's not like you fell off after Brawl. It's like you kind of kept that thing going even when people started caring about it more. What would you attribute that to? What would you say is like when everyone started caring a lot more, when you kind of had to double down on it and not expect everyone just to not be at the same everyone to be at your level in terms of commitment? What would you attribute your success to in that era?
So let me think. So I mentioned how in Brawl around 2011, 12, I kind of stopped playing because the game was dying. I was lost interest. I started going more competitive in All Stars like for like a year or so. I was best in that game, and it was like I'm a very competitive person, so I'm always trying to find something to be competitive in and grind in, which I think is very important. That like I'll always have something I'm practicing to get better at. Period. And then when Smash 4 came out, I think people still kind of didn't care that much about Smash on a serious level when Smash 4 came out. To be honest, I think for the first like year, because the game when it came out, it was state a lot of people didn't like. Diddy Kong being broken, Sheik, Rosa, general gameplay mechanics. A lot of people saying it was Brawl 2.0 but better, but that wasn't saying much for more serious competitive people. That was just an excuse to play Smash, except it's better than Brawl for a lot of people in chill. So
Yeah.
I think it was more so around the time when we got Smash at Evo twice. Like I think the first time with Evo, it's like, alright, it's Evo, new game, whatever. And then we got there a second time, and it was like, wait, this game, and like PGR started coming out. People started getting big sponsors like Zero with I forget what he had initially, TSM. Like I think when things like that came, and people started realizing, wait, streaming's a blow up for people like Nairo as well. YouTube content's getting bigger. There's more money in these events, sponsors. That's when people started taking Smash seriously, like mid-ish Smash 4, because you all realized, wait, there's that potential. And then people like me who are already just kind of seriously practicing and good for the sake of it, for the fun and for the love of competition, we're already at a huge advantage that like we were good. We had the mentality to practice, and I think that helps a lot with my success staying competitive. Is that I've been doing it for so long and I've had such a head start that it's really easy to maintain that when it's just habitual for me. It's habitual for me to play a few hours a day. Habitual for me to like be able to seriously sit there and grind. Habitual for me to like do all these things you need to do to be competitive at a game and stay on top.
That's funny that you phrased it that way, because looking back in terms of the beginning of Smash 4, Smash 4 came out right after the Melee doc came out. And people forget this context that the Melee doc sort of casted the Brawl and the non-Melee side of the Smashing as, more casual, not really as competitive. And I watched the doc and I was fired up to play some Melee. I was like, yeah, everything else kind of sucks. I bought Smash 4 on a whim just to have something, just to play online with friends and things. And the first a year or so in that game, I wasn't thinking about it as this competitive thing. I'd sort of cast it in this sort of separate casual sphere. And watching people like you play really pulled my interest towards Smash 4 as a competitive title. I realized how much depth exactly went into all the different matchups and to the slower pace of play, but perhaps more methodical and neutral based. I want to pivot a little bit to exactly how you achieved some of this success and sort of rode this wave of competitive Smash. Let's talk about the laptop, Dabuz, okay? This is sort of an icon in my mind. Dabuz is there. He's got the Luma plushie. He's got the laptop. He's ready to go. You seem to wear this banner of preparation on your sleeve as a competitor. You show up. You studied for the test. You're not showing up like you overslept. You're maybe you're drinking some of your milk Pepsi and you show up like kind of hungover. No, you're always locked in before the match even starts. Like, will you break down exactly what that's all about?
I mean, I just think it's very important to be prepared for something. Like, it's so important to be prepared for your competition, especially when like there are stakes. It's not like if I lose, something bad's gonna happen to me, but like if I win, it's it's good for my brand. It's just good for me as personality, just my own ego. So there's a lot of motivation to actually like get ready for matches and study and prepare because the payoff is nice. And I don't know. For me, it's just I've always been a studious person. In school, I was the person that would actually study for the test in school when everyone's saying, oh, I just passed the test, without even trying, and then they got a C, and I was like, I studied and I got an A. I was the person that did their homework in class, and the teacher was like, I'm going to read this. I'm like, guys, anyone else in the class?
I'm not surprised at all.
Right? I think that's just
great.
Kind of
no, that's awesome.
Thing.
No,
Yeah.
I love that. And the thing is that like people will always people like reducing top players to like one quality, right? If you think light, you think like hyper aggression. If you think if you think narrow, you think like hype and maybe aggressive as well. But it's like when it comes to you, there's this word that gets tossed around in commentary every single time,
Consistent.
and it's consistence one too, but cerebral, right? So like it's like, and that kind of ties back into to your point about you're studious, and you have this like wealth of preparation and knowledge. To some extent, does the phrase cerebral player actually mean anything? Because I hear it on commentary all the time, and I think to myself, it's very clear that Dabuz is a very studied and prepared individual, but there's different like types of intelligence when it comes to playing this game. I think that a lot of people like forget that even though like that maybe Light and Nairo are just extremely aggressive players, that there is like a very large amount of like passive latent intelligence that people aren't observing there, right? So I want you to kind of like break down what it like what if you do see these kinds of different types of intelligence, and if you do feel that the word cerebral to describe players means anything.
I think cerebral, people kind of associate that with people who are very knowledgeable about the game, have very more technical characters that require like character-specific knowledge, character-specific execution, and I guess it all goes back to the idea that you have a lot of stuff locked up in your brain that you actively have to think about and know, or at least I do, and that I actively utilize, things like writing the notes to my laptop and having matchup notes. I should do this. Watch out for this gimmick, this little mechanic of this matchup. I think that's what they think when they think cerebral. Because if you compare like someone like me to like said Light, I've talked to Light, and Light is a studious person. Like any top player is gonna be studious in this game, and know their stuff obviously. But like Light, for example, has said like he doesn't know a lot of frame data for stuff. He just kind of knows what feels correct, what feels incorrect, what works, what doesn't. And like he is not someone you describe as cerebral, not because he doesn't have like smash intelligence, but because he's a lot of intuition, and a lot of it's kind of like passive thought, and a lot of like his intelligence goes kind of into reading just the game as a whole, which is the complete opposite of how I view the game, right?
Right.
So the two types of intelligence, but like it also means I can explain things really well to people. I think it's a big part of it is that someone has like Light a question, he might be like, I don't, and this isn't shots to him, but he might be like, I don't really know, dude, and I would just laugh it off. Meanwhile, I can be like, yada 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 yap 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 yap, and just say too much stuff. But everything will be correct.
That means it does mean that you're extremely valuable as a resource in terms of like teaching people about matchups and teaching people about different parts of the game. Also helping other people, like teaching people how you want to practice against them, or teaching people how they should practice against you. I think that's a really cool thing. You mentioned that there's this that it's like there's stuff on the line, right? There's stakes, and that's why you put all this preparation in. And it doesn't seem like anyone has, like, at least outwardly, like, comes close to like the level of preparation. At least from what we see on the outside. Obviously, there's so much that goes on in the on the inside. But it's like, why do you feel? Is it just pure laziness that people just don't put in the time or don't put in the effort to like basically learning frame data, learning like specific character interactions, like studying the game like a true student of Super Smash Brothers? Do you feel like people just aren't putting enough time into studying?
Yes and no, it depends. Like, for example, I think I'm very outwardly like open, like, hey, yo, I'm labbing, yo, look at this thing I labbed out. I'm trying to learn the matchup today. Studying matches, I'll hear my notes. Like, I'm very outwardly like I mention that stuff, but then there are a lot of people who don't really mention that stuff and aren't quite outward about it that are actually really studious. The biggest example with me is Tweak, actually. He's a very studious player. He labs things, he discusses things, he plays a lot, but people don't talk about Tweak like, oh my god, is this some studious player? And he's just one example of many people who are very studious but aren't quite open about it and like express that they constantly do that and show how they do that. And I think that's a big difference between the perception of me versus a lot of other players. Now there are other players who are lazy for sure, and there are also a lot of players who drop off or do well for a short period of time and that's it. So you can kind of see who the hard workers are by seeing who are the consistent people that can adapt to shifting, patches, metas, rule sets, whatever there are. Those are, you can generally see, those are the harder working people. As people who kind of flash in the pans, I'm not saying they aren't hardworking, but I think there tends to be a correlation between the amount of consistent effort someone puts in and the results.
Yeah, that's actually really well said. I stumbled upon like the infinite wisdom of like a Reddit thread the other day, and someone said, you know what, motivation's a little overrated, discipline is where it's at. And it had like one upvote, and I swear it's like made more of a difference in my life than most great quotes. And yeah, like having that discipline over long periods of time is such a good thing to have in your corner. I want to pivot back to the laptop, Dabuz. I'll be honest with you. This thing, if I could like just steal it and browse your Google Docs, like I want to know it all. It's like your journal. And look, man, I want to know, how can the average smasher benefit from preparation? What are you doing? Are you looking at writing down specific matchup interactions? Do you have the download on the players that you are mindful of encountering in bracket? Like what's in there, man?
So in Smash 4, I actually remember posting a while ago, like my shelf for how I write matchups in Smash 4, which would be something like, all right, this is like the basics of the matchups, like pros and cons, the basic flow of the matchup in like 3 sentences or less, and then I would break it down into neutral, advantage, disadvantage, and then neutral would be like different play styles, like how I should play it. It wouldn't be too in depth because a lot of matchups it'd be like, oh yeah, play Campion. To me, I instinctively know when I see play Campy with down tilt what that means, or play aggressive with jab. So have like kind of those things where like say, hey, this character can play either this way with like Campy, or he can kind of play this kind of rushdown style. And I would instinctively write a sentence about that. And I instinctively know, all right, that's what it does. Write how to beat it generally, and then I'd have advantage. Say would be like juggling, ledge, off stage, just kind of things I shouldn't do there. And then same thing for disadvantage. What I shouldn't do in those different spots. I would have stages, just the pros and cons of each stage in like a sentence or less, and generally not even. Sometimes I'll just have stage, band, counter, pick, neutral, and kind of just like write like 2 words for that. And then finally I'd have a section for specific players and how they play and things that are important versus them. And finally, like a miscellaneous section for like matchup specific mechanics, interactions. Like for example, Fox dash attacks me in Smash 4 and has a low percent, Luma can actually just up air him unpunished for dash attacking me, or was it jabbing me? I forget which one it was. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
But yeah, in Ultimate, because of the increased amount of matchups and I think the more linearity of a lot of characters, my notes are even simpler than that, where I kind of don't need to break it down to that much. I can just kind of say, oh, this character is floaty with these options and disadvantage, so do this, or this character is gonna play like this neutral and these are his best moves, so play like this versus them generally, and watch out if they adapt this way. And the main player knows to have like 1 or 2 things, but I think with so much in Ultimate to learn, you have to cut down on the amount of detail you put into the matchups, because you need to know 40 plus matchups in Ultimate decently well, to be honest. But like in Smash 4, if you play a top 2, you need to know like 10 to 15 matchups tops, and everything else you can just kind of wing by being a better character, a better player. Like I'm Rosa, I just got a jab most of the cast. I didn't care during the Gambler matchup. I'm sorry. Or like Ryu players, I'm sorry guys. I learned how to jab you guys, and I said that's my matchup notes for the next 3 years.
That's so. My big takeaways from that is consolidated notes. You wrote things like advantage, disadvantage, neutral, in a short but concise and effective list of priorities. Okay, this is what I need to keep in mind. That makes a lot of sense, especially given the fact that you said, like, look, Ultimate, there's so many matchups, there's so many characters that are a threat. It isn't like Smash 4 or Melee where there's 10 at best. It's, I'm afraid of, like, every character except Kirby, and even then Kirby just got buffed, so, I don't know, man.
Good character now. Yeah, I think it's really important. If there's one thing you have to write down in your notes, it is recognize what you need to watch out for from your opponent. Like, where are the spots where the character can mix up, and where are the player habits going to come into play? Like, if I'm fighting, Wolf, for example, right? I need to note when are they going to laser, and where are they going to jump in. Because those are everything else in the neutral is like whatever. It's kind of autopilot for both players. But it all comes down to a lot of characters versus Wolf. When are they going to laser, and how do I punish that with my character? And when are they going to jump in, and how do I deal with that as my character? And if you can understand that for different matchups, it actually makes the matchup so much easier for every matchup.
That's just like the way that you put that, like laser or jump in. Like I play a little bit of Wolf, and I'm either lasering or jumping. there's no other option. Well, so let's talk about characters. You talk about in this game there's a million different matchups that you need to think about, and you've gone on the record. I actually just watched your YouTube video on the subject about secondaries. You say, look, the average player doesn't need to worry about all these different characters. Just pick one, learn the matchups that you need to learn, and think about it through the lens of one character. Do you stand by that statement? Do you think that if you're not a top player, you should just pick one character and ride or die and learn the game through those means?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I thought a lot about that YouTube video, put a good amount of time into making that, like, 6-minute video. And I do stand by it for, most players. There might be some exceptions, like, I don't know, you play at Belmonts, and there's, like, 4 rap players in your region. Alright, learn a second-name Mario or something. But, like, those are, like, the very specific exceptions, where there's absolutely no answer, and pretty much everyone of every level of play would tell you that. But even then, if you learn how to deal with something like the rats with Belmonts, you will be so much better as a player that when you do get good enough to learn a secondary properly, you'll play rats with your Mario when you're like a high-level player in your region. You'll probably just beat all the rat players that I've been trying. Yeah. So, like, there is a lot of benefit to be learned from overcoming your struggles the hard way.
Yeah. I've absolutely gone on the record for what it's worth. Saying the same thing so I play Donkey Kong, and Donkey Kong has a plethora of awful matchups. and the funny part is that the more that I think about picking up a secondary to cover maybe like the Mega Man matchup, right? Or maybe the Pikachu or the Bowser Jr. matchup or like any of these really not great matchups, I start to lean into the idea of maybe I should just be playing a higher tier character instead. So I guess the real question is that like as a low tier player, is it really if there's just like a ton of matchups that are just so like that just feel like pulling teeth and feel like I have to be trying like I have to be like engaging my brain at a much higher level, is it worth it? I feel like it might be worth picking up a secondary for at least one or two of them, and so I've always been kind of juggling this back and forth, and eventually I kind of just like fell into the idea of just, okay, I'm just gonna play Donkey Kong, I'm not gonna play anyone else. But for some reason my brain can never settle on that, so maybe I would like some guidance on that.
Like if you're playing a low tier, you're gonna struggle. You have to accept that. Like, at your point, if you really think there's that many matchups you're just pulling teeth in, you need a secondary for, you have to consider one or two things. One is you play another character as you main as much as you don't like and keep DK as a secondary, which I think is a very reasonable solution for a lot of people who just love a character and realize after a year they can't do it, is they can play the character as their secondary, because I say you're not supposed to learn secondaries, right? But if you learn new main and you don't have to learn new secondary because you already know how to play that character, that kind of breaks that rule. So that is one solution. Or the other solution is you could try to be a dual main. I do actually think when you pick up a secondary, if you're really going for it, you should try to learn them as if they were a main. Like, you don't want to learn a character and be like, I'm going to play this character for 5 matchups and only learn those 5 matchups. You should learn every matchup as if it was your main, if you're really that dedicated to learning a secondary and you really need it. Because you don't want to become a one-trick pony with that character. You need the character to be well-rounded like your main. So you essentially want a dual main. And that's why unless you're like a really high-level player who can play a secondary without that much investment and just beat people in the matchups you need to, it's not worth just having a secondary. I stand by what I said in that video. Yeah. Those are your options as a low-tier player who really struggles.
So, on one hand, I want to argue with you because I do disagree a little bit, but at the same time, like a podcast host arguing with Dabuz about Smash stuff is like...
I'm down to hear different opinions. You can let me know what you think.
Yeah. I just feel like a guy who's like telling a doctor that like vaccines might not work. It's like I'm speaking a little out of turn, but here's my counter argument. Okay, and I've said this on the show, is that Ultimate is the type of type of game where there's certain high tier characters that are pretty pick up and play. I play Wolf, I play Cloud. Both characters you can, if you're pretty good already, you can kind of maximize a lot of their matchups pretty easily. Characters like Lucina, like Wolf, where you approach most matchups with the same goals in mind. and your combos kind of do themselves, and there's nothing about the characters that are so specialized. And I say, look, if you want to pick up a secondary, a character like that might just be a pretty decent solution for you.
It could be, and I see where you're coming from, because obviously people do that and make it work versus certain people. But the problem is, now you pick up your secondary Wolf or Cloud, right? Because you have trouble with whatever matchup. And now your opponent says, this is kind of hard for my character. What if I pick up my easy secondary like Pikachu and just win for free? And now you see how you didn't learn to get better as a player, and now your opponent didn't, and now you're just playing this counter pick war, and now when you go play them in a set, you're just going to be doing RPS of, alright, I'm playing either Cloud or DK, and you're playing either Pikachu or Sheik or something, I don't know. And, you see how now it kind of feels like a dice roll until one of you just gets really good with one of those characters to the point where you can beat both of the characters your opponent has. So,
Yeah.
if that doesn't happen, it's just going to feel like a dice roll, and who has the correct character pick game one. And that is kind of my counter argument, is not that it's not going to be effective short term, it's that long term, it won't benefit you. Now, by all means, if you're in a $100,000 tournament at an Arcadian, and you need to pull out the Pocket Cloud to beat your opponent, who cares about the long term? You have to make $100,000 if you beat your opponent with the Pocket Cloud. But
Right.
if you try to be, top 5 PR in your region for a year, and people see you're playing Pocket Cloud and a counter pick them now with their pockets, you see how that's not really going to help you out long term. Or when you go to a major and you fight a good player, and they know how to fight your Pocket Cloud, and you're main with their one character.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good point, Buzz, and that also speaks to what you said earlier about that long-term consistency that you value so highly, where throughout different metas, throughout different patches, throughout different games even, the people who work hard and are studious, like you've mentioned, tend to thrive, right? And yeah, I think there definitely is something to be said about the pain that you experience along the way of fighting through a tough matchup through your main is not without benefit. You're going to become a better player, well-rounded, when you learn to play through these shortcomings. So look, I can't argue there, Dabuz.
But you have a fair point, because that's what I've heard before, and I don't think that's necessarily a wrong viewpoint. It's just what your goals are, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Well,
I think.
oh, sorry.
If I could just.
Please.
Kind of.
I'd be insulted if you didn't, Abhi.
Throw one last thing in there. I will say, I kind of brought the other part up for argument's sake, but I do agree that I actually have found that the matchups like the Pokemon Trainer matchup for DK, I've spent a lot of time kind of dissecting that as DK, and now when I go and play other characters, or just generally when I'm playing against characters who would expect it to be an easy matchup, you can surprise people, and that's actually kind of an advantage, because there's this it seems like what the most important part about how hard, what mentality someone comes into a match with, or the state of someone's brain when they're coming into a match, if they expect it to be easy and it's not, I feel like that actually kind of shakes it up. It kind of places this it places this this level of pressure in them. It's a lot like a top level player not wanting to be upset by a low level player, but it's kind of like that same dynamic. Even if the players are at the same level, it's like, oh, I should be winning this, but now I'm kind of thrown off a bit. So I think that's a really I think first I want to ask, if I feel like there is this dynamic does exist, and if you have seen it, what are the best ways to take advantage of it?
No one wants to lose to Little Mac as Pikachu, right? I think everyone can relate to that when they're playing Elite Smash or something, and they go in their main, or they're going some easy counter pick versus Little Mac, and they fight him, and they're like, oh my god, I'm about to lose to Little Mac in front of all my friends or something with my main. So yes, there is 100% dynamic to the fact that people don't want to be judged by others for losing these, supposedly easy matchups or versus these bad characters. And as a result, you can use that to your advantage, right? It's actually a huge deal. If you're a good DK and you can make a matchup look even when it's not supposed to, people are going to flip out and be like, what's going on? I can't up air him with Ivysaur and just dash grab him with Squirtle? Why can't I do this? I didn't learn the matchup properly. I'm scared. I'm going to lose. I'm going to panic. I'm going to start rolling. And then you just win. That is a huge benefit. That's kind of a little bit unrelated to, I feel like, the idea of secondaries and stuff. It's just a huge benefit of playing a character and being really dedicated to a character despite their shortcomings. I guess
Well
one
said,
last
Ben.
note I want to say about secondaries, actually, since we're like talking about this for so long, is
Sure.
if you find yourself having that much success with a better new character, it is worth considering playing them instead if it's that much easier and better for you. Like if you're playing the Pocket Clown, you're just literally doing better than your DK ever would. You might want to rethink this if it's
Right.
that good.
Yeah, thankfully I've never actually fell into that. My DK has just been better than all of my other characters, no matter what. I don't know what that says about me as a person, but
It says you like DK, bro.
yeah,
Long
probably
Island,
did.
I grew up knowing DK Will. He had DK in his name. That man grinded
Yeah.
the hardest matchups. He grinded
Yeah.
the DD matchup in Brawl. Let me tell you, you know what DD could do in Brawl? Grab DK, take one like pixel of a step forward, grab him again. He could just down throw it and
Right.
hit him from any percent across stage until he is dead. And DK Will was winning that matchup because he grinded that hard. So I know dedicated DK mains. You guys are a breed.
It takes a lot of work.
DK Will, that was poor planning on his part. Like the only character he could swap to is like Diddy Kong in terms of like keeping up with his nomenclature. So I will we're talking about character dedication. We're talking about how crazy those Donkey Kong players are. Dabuz, when it comes to character dedication, you and your name and your Rosaline and your Olimar pop up into my head, and I think the main reason why is because Olimar, Rosalina, even Palutena to a lesser extent, is are characters who are associated with like lame play or with slow play or defensive play, and they're characters that people Twitch chat low-level smashers love to just complain about, frankly. And there's a stigma around playing characters such as Olimar and Rosa, yet you seem to weaponize it. You seem to relish in that fact and use it to your advantage. So first of all, I want your take on this stigma, this negative stigma, and how do you weaponize it?
I mean, people in Ultimate, I think every character has people that hate the character. Olimar in particular is very disliked, and I actually can't even blame people because he's a character that's not fun to fight against. And I think part of the way I maybe we'll kind of take advantage of this is just I know he's not a fun character to fight against. I'm not gonna hide it, I'm not gonna pretend to play in a way that I think is unoptimal just because people want to see it. No, if I know a character's lame and I think that's the best way to play him, I don't really care if I'm winning. Like, that's the thing. At the end of the day, if I'm winning, I don't really care. I'm playing the lane play. I'm making people annoyed. Not just the spectators. I'm making my opponent annoyed. I'm seeing people get visibly frustrated, impatient, at everything when they're playing Olimar. And I'm like, oh, my opponent just did a bad dash attack across the screen. They know it. But they want to keep doing that. I won the set easy. Like that's actually a huge deal, and it's something you take advantage of when you play as annoying characters, is other people's mentalities. It's not... It's about what you're fighting that matters more than what other people think generally. And then, with Rosa, I actually don't understand why people think she's lame in this game. In 4, she was...
Yeah.
I never defended her in 4 and said she's an awesome character. I love playing her. But I'd be like, yeah, she's lame. She just jabs and up airs. But I think in Ultimate, I think more people come around to the idea that when they see Rosa play for me, they're like, wait, this character's actually kind of sick with all the tech, the aggression she can put on, the pressure, the mind games. So... I think that's one of those things where the opinion of Rosa is changing. Because a lot of people tell me, hey, Dabuz, your Olimar, lame as heck. I hate it. Be a Rosa, fire. Keep doing it.
Well, to what extent is that, like, there's this phenomenon where suddenly a character becomes lower tier and suddenly they're cool? Because I feel like this happened with Bayonetta too. Like, people are suddenly came to this game and said, oh, Bayonetta's a really cool character. She just doesn't work. Maybe she does now, with the latest patch. But do you feel like some of that to some extent is just because the character is lower tier?
Yeah, for sure. People are very biased towards seeing things that are new. I don't think it's necessarily if a character is lower tier or not. It's if a character is popular, right? And even then, it's not as true. People like seeing Wolf, for example, even though I think he's super lame. But people like seeing the character and think he's awesome even though he's very popular. People like seeing Cloud even though he's considered pretty good and pretty easy to play, I think, for the most part. Not everyone, of course. Some people are just going to hate him. But, there is a correlation, but it's not 100% there, of lower tier characters are perceived as more hype. I think, for example, you since mentioned Bayo, she's kind of a character people thought was cool, just broken in Smash 4. Absolutely unfairly broken. But was still kind of cool. But, yeah, people like seeing things they don't see often for sure,
Right.
especially because it won't be as lame the first time you see like someone camping with a character, but it'll be lame the 100th time you see it.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, in Smash 4, I played DK as well. It's like people see Ding Dong for the 80th time, and they're like, okay, I'm really sick of this at this point. You can visibly hear commentators just saying, oh, it's like grab, oh, there it is. They just, it's just total resignation in their voice. and then you come over to this game where Ding Dong is still a thing, but it's a little more it's a little more nuanced, and it's less common, and suddenly people are just like excited about it again. People are just like, oh, that's crazy. It's pretty insane.
Yeah.
So
that's also the low tier factor of, oh my god, is winning with a low tier, right? Like if you're winning with a character that's not that good, people don't care how a lot of times because they just think, oh my god, you just beat a top tier with a low tier. That's freaking awesome, dude.
Right.
So yeah, there's so many awkward things that come into play when it comes to character popularity, and that's like another reason I don't take it to heart, because I know people are fickle. And I just accept people are fickle and jerks, and that's just how it is. So why would I care what they think?
Yeah, well, that's
the moment Rosa is top tier in this game, if it ever happens, and there's like a few Rosas dominating, people go, "Wow, this character is lame." The same people think she was hyped like half a year ago, be like, "Wow, I hate this character. She's dumb. She has all this near back air broken stuff, and these Luma steps, and this isn't fair," you know. Or I remember in Smash 4, Olimar played the same way in Smash 4 and in Ultimate, except in Ultimate he has sword aerials, right? You know what people thought about Olimar in Smash 4? Who just ran away throwing Pikmin, doing pivot grabs and forward smashes? Oh my god, he's so cool. When Brute plays Olimar, when Shuzan plays Olimar, he's sick. I love seeing the Buzz's Olimar hate his Rosa. Yo, Myron's Olimar is baller. Like,
yeah. And
then there's also person perspectives, right? People will like a character played by a person they like more than dislike more. And this is not shots for Myron, but for example, Myron has a cooler Olimar than me for sure. Like, he does a lot of sick stuff. But I've seen people say they like my Olimar more than Myron's, despite the fact that almost objectively Myron's is cooler. That's because I'm more of a fan favorite, just because I have a bigger, like, brand.
Yeah.
So, it's just so many different examples of people being fickle. That doesn't matter much.
Yeah, well, first of all, I love the confidence, and I think it's very inspirational that you as a player, you have your priorities towards your own success and towards playing optimally, and everything else is just kind of for fun. And so, that's admirable in and of itself, but not to play armchair psychologist, Dabuz, okay? I don't know you that well. We've been talking for 39 minutes. You seem to be the type of person who thrives on negative attention in jest, right? So, like, you can go on Twitter and say things like, "Oh, I had a nice glass of Pepsi with milk in it, and it was delish." To me, it's not a crazy leap to enjoy that, right? And to enjoy just destroying someone with a character in game who makes you play their game, who sits and waits, and in the moment you make an error, capitalizes super hard, right? It seems like you know how to manage negative attention, like with a combination of humor and just your own drive to win. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, I'm just a person that's very, I think, lighthearted in general, so I don't really take personal offense to things. Keep in mind, I was like the younger brother with like two older brothers, so I got all like the attention the younger brother gets from having two older brothers.
Yeah.
So I'm used to, like, I'm not saying bullying, but like being messed around with a bit because I'm the little kid in the family. So I think as a result, I kind of just don't really care much. I'm like, I won't want to say used to it, but I guess saying used to it's fair. And yeah, I can use that to my advantage when I'm playing people and just as a personality. Like it's very hard to offend me, and also because a lot of times I just don't care. Like I think it's just me regardless. I really don't care about a lot of things. You can say whatever about me, be like, cool. I'm just gonna go and stream now and have a good day. Peace, dude.
Yeah.
But like, because it's so hard to affect me is the thing.
I don't think that you could be in your position if that wasn't true, right? Like that's the kind of thing. That's what I'm obsessed with about Smash, Dabuz, is that there's all these long-term factors that keep you, you being you, but also the general Smasher, that keep you competitive. Like your resilience and mindset over life, like years, is what it takes to be in your position. I would argue, and hearing your personality and your mindset about all these things, it's no surprise to me that you are where you are in terms of your competitive pedigree. Would you agree with me, or would you disagree that your sort of psychology and mindset has been pretty highly responsible for your success in Smash, or is it something else?
No, I think it definitely is. I mean, I'm talking about all this stuff about mentality and like how I view like the game and life and stuff in terms of the game, and that directly correlates to how I approach, making Smash a living. So, for sure, it's I think it's very just important to be positive and try to make people happy. Generally, is another big part of it. So it's so easy to kind of like remember I'm playing a video game that people are supposed to enjoy and have fun with, for the most part, and I should contribute to that in whatever ways I can, even if it's poking fun at myself because it makes people happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when people ask about like what is like one of the factors that contributes to longevity, it's this concept that we called grit, which is basically a rewording or a rephrasing that of what Peon just kind of went over and what you just talked about, how you can just endure, persist, and not be faltered by any mentality issues. And the thing is that for as you described it, you grew up in surroundings that enabled this, right? You grew up as a younger brother. You got you got the teasing. You learned how to like roll with the punches. You learned that like the world is not really out to get you, and you shouldn't take things to heart. People are just salty and mad sometimes. But there's a lot of people who unfortunately like aren't in the position to have had it in their surroundings. How would you recommend people kind of moving towards the same kind of mentality, but in more of like a proactive way that doesn't really rely on their surroundings? How do you get people to start understanding that grit and your resistance to basically mental afflictions is one of the most important things as a long-term competitive smasher?
So I've never been this adamant about like this kind of like grit, as you call it. I've never been like this okay with it. When I was first starting to become a top level player, it still bothered me at points. It was never like Smash 4 came out, I'm making people hate Rosa. Oh my god, guys, make me hate Rosa, la 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 la. I was like, I didn't like getting all the hate and stuff. I hated the negative attention people gave me sometimes.
Right.
So even I had to experience it and build up grit despite my natural upbringing with it. And I think as a result, you need to experience it, and you need to be able to see how people deal with it or talk to people about how they deal with it. Like, I think you kind of need a role model in terms of dealing with it and the experience, or to really build the mental perseverance to deal with it. Because I don't know many people at all that became a top player in whatever they're playing, got all this hate, and were just able to handle it perfectly well immediately. People handle it differently. Some people can vent inwardly, outwardly, aggressively, sadly. But I think almost everyone's going to have some way to vent with the negativity as they get used to it. It's just a matter of having resources, I guess, to handle it,
Right.
And I don't think there's a simple way to do it, because I do think you need a combination of experience and a positive role model of how to deal with it.
Yeah, in my opinion, there was that whole hard work versus talent debate that was going on. We already addressed that. I don't want to get too far into it, but in terms of there's this other dimension to it. This other dimension in terms of mentality, right? And I kind of threw you a trick question, right? It's like I don't think grit is just something you can just pop out of the womb and just be like, all right, you're super gritty and you can just take everything.
That's such a weird.
I don't think that's the thing. Yeah. What's up, Peon?
Oh, no.
Okay,
I'm just now imagining a doctor going like, okay, he's got grit. He's got grit.
And now think of grit like the food in the South that's like oatmeal or something.
Grits, yeah.
Yeah. He's got grits in his hands, guys. He's a born grit farmer.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've eaten grits. Can we just? I don't know if I know. Is that like is that potatoes? Is it like hash browns?
You would have known you've eaten grits for sure. You would know. I had it once, and I was just like, I remember going to some event in the South, and the person at the counter is like, "Do you want grits with that or fries?" I'm like, "What's grits?" And I swear the person at the counter is like, "Oh, honey, you're not from here, are you?" I swear that's what she said. And then I learned what grits are, and I tried it out, and I hated it.
Really? So milk and
texture
Pepsi is good. Grits is not.
But it's like oatmeal. It's like this like weird oatmeal.
I don't like
but,
oatmeal.
But yeah, it is kind of strange. But to finish up my point, I think that there's this whole different dimension of the fact that some people are naturally inclined to have higher mental resistance, and some people need to work a little harder at it. And would you recommend that, similar to how people do training drills in the game and they practice their kill confirms, they practice going through different situations with maybe their friends or in training mode, would you recommend that people do mental drills? Like, are there any mental drills that that helped you work through this?
I have a funny story actually. So back in Brawl days, right? I'm not sure if you guys ever heard of a Peach player named Nicole. She was like a pretty well-known player in the Brawl days. Smash 4, not so much. And I think Ultimate she kind of goes to events, but isn't like too big in the scene. The point is, I was gonna go to Texas for an event in the Brawl days, and I remember hearing the Texas crowds are really, really, really bad. Like, they're gonna shit talk you and all this stuff. And I remember that and knowing I'm not good at dealing with shit talk at the time. Like, I can, this is Brawl days, so I'm still not great at like handling all the negativity in general. And I remember hearing that going, I can't handle this shit talk probably. I'm gonna get distracted, angry, and flustered while I'm playing because of shit talk. So I remember she would actually, and like we were friends, but like in order to train me against people to shit talking me, trying to distract me during a match, she would sit behind me like during tournament sets and literally just shit talk and yell right behind me as loud as possible in the most insulting ways possible. And as funny as that sounds, it was actually a great drill. I got so much better not getting distracted and dealing with. It wasn't like real shit talk because like, we were friends. Right. Like, I got so much better at the distractions part of it, while playing. Because even if someone's joking around and not taking it seriously, you're still hearing someone scream right behind you, all this stuff, trying to distract you because they're mentioning real things that happened to you or real things about you. So, I guess the answer is yeah. It's not easy to practice these kind of things at all. I think I think it'd be creative with practicing mentality drills, but it's definitely something that if you can figure out a way to do it, is helpful.
That's awesome, man. And I can kind of relate to that because I played basketball in high school. And for those not watching the YouTube version of the show, I am a ginger, okay? And when you're a ginger basketball player, you're going to get yelled at. Like, people are going to be yelled at you on the side of the floor, like, "Oh, ginger, where's the sunscreen, bitch?" Like, okay, I'm just trying to play basketball. Like, relax. Like, people take high school basketball very seriously in my town. And, the first time I ever got jeered in Smash was at a 2GG Breakthrough, their Arcadian series, way back in the Smash 4 days. And I was on stage, and I landed a pretty lucky finishing touch as Cloud, and I won the first game of the set. But it was a SoCal player, so the crowd was against me. They were all screaming, "You got lucky," and like they were cheering against me. But I was so used to it, and because of being a ginger basketball player. So it's funny how things like that can really prepare you for when you're gonna face similar things in Smash. And I'm happy to hear that you also had a similar experience. Mm-hmm. So I know I'm not crazy. Yeah.
I mean, I think like almost everyone's got to have some sort of similar story probably among like top people, I think.
Right.
Dabuz, I want to wrap this up soon because we've almost had you for an hour, but I need to learn about this whole food thing, Dabuz. Like you're a man of you're an exotic man, I'll say, especially when it comes to your food selections. I've even referenced it a few times in the discussion so far. Is this concept of Pepsi in milk, vanilla Coke in milk? I heard was added to the mix. What's your thing with weird foods?
I mean, all right. I'm sure you've talked to a friend and they're like, "Hey, try this combination of food out. It sounds weird, dude, but I'm your friend. Trust me, it's gonna be good, right?" Yeah. Right? You've definitely had that in your life.
Yeah.
So now, if you're an open-minded person and you like your friend, you're gonna try it, right? Yeah. I remember my mom recommended it to me, And I was like, it's my mom. I'm not gonna say you're stupid, mom. I don't trust you. I'll try it. And I'm open-minded. I'm like, it tastes alright. And I think for me, it's as simple as that. Is I'm very open-minded in general about a lot of things. So I'm willing to try things as long as it's not like. Oh, I was gonna say it's not like cockroaches or something. But I remember going to Mexico for a tournament, and some people from I forget from where. It was like somewhere in South America came to the event in Mexico. It was Smash Factor, and maybe tried they like candied crickets. And like I hated it, but I at least give it a shot, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
and I just think I'm open-minded because of that. I'm able to actually recognize when things may sound gross, but they might be good. Because I'm not gonna go up to someone and tell them, yeah, Pepsi milk sounds totally reasonable and normal and nothing weird at all. You should try it. I'm gonna say, yeah, it sounds a little weird, but it's actually pretty good. Trust me.
I feel like there's like a good lesson to be taken away from this as well. I feel like the open-mindedness could definitely be like basically is a good analog for how you should approach training, but not to go into this too deep.
Yeah, maybe I'm just a mad scientist. I don't know because I've tried weird combinations with food. Some have come out well, and then some have come out weird for sure. I remember recently, for example, I combined. It was like I made rice using orange juice and water. It was not that great. It was an idea.
I have to say, like, I cannot blame a man for not trying. Like, for instance, I was in Switzerland one time, and there was a sandwich, and I'm like, hey, what kind of sandwich is this? And they're like, oh, it's a horse sandwich. You know, it has horse in there. I'm like horse meat? They're like, yeah.
Like, yeah.
It was pretty good. It tastes like beef. My parents have horses, so I didn't tell them. I would have been disowned by now. But Dabuz, we actually do have a little game prepared. Because Dabuz, I want you to close your eyes. I want you to think of yourself. You have this hot date, okay? Mm-hmm. You're overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge. You have a nice little picnic prepared. Your date brought a picnic basket and is giving you some options, okay? These options are unconventional, Dabuz. Your date is after your heart. They know you like weird food. The first selection I want you to make, you have two choices for all these, is a little bit close to home, Dabuz. We're going with the milk and Pepsi, right? That's one option. Mm-hmm. But the counter option, right? You pick one or the other, is an idea of my own. Pepperoni pizza with Cheerios.
I'm trying pepperoni pizza and Cheerios. That's something brand new. I have a feeling it's just going to be okay, but it's not going to mesh well. But I'll try it. I'll give it a shot.
Okay. AV, you want to ask the next one?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so... All right, we got on one hand we got a peanut butter and barbecue sauce sandwich.
Tried that before.
Go on. I'm not surprised. And on the other side we have tuna infused water.
All right, you see, this is the problem. I do not like either of those. I am not a tuna infused water, and I do love water, but I hate tuna. And I know tuna gets soggy in water, so I gotta suffer with a peanut butter barbecue sandwich. Now, with that said, if it's a mild sweet barbecue sauce, it might be edible.
Okay, you have tried this before. Was this with a spicy sauce, or what went wrong previously?
It wasn't very spicy sauce, but it wasn't a sweet barbecue sauce. It was kind of like a mildish sauce.
Okay. Your next choice, Dabuz, and at this point, your date is rearing to go. It's very romantic, and the selection now is licorice with a nice marinara sauce. Think like a pasta, versus sort of Reese's peanut butter cups and cheese. I was thinking like nacho cheese.
I'm thinking there's a licorice and marinara sauce. That's kind of like putting way too sweet of like sweet peppers in like a marinara sauce pasta, but you don't have the grains. But at the same time, it's just a very, very sweet sauce with an awkward texture. And the other one was... What was the other one again?
Reese's peanut butter cups with cheese, sort of nacho style.
What about like fondue? What if it's like a Reese's fondue?
Ooh, a fondue might be good with the Reese's. Like a nacho cheddar style cheese, I can already tell it's going to be garbage. but the fondue style cheese, if it's like a white cheese, might be... It might be edible. You know, I think I have to try that because that sounds so weird and adventurous that I'm like... Sure, I guess.
Oh man,
I'm also very into food, so I'm like thinking about all the different palettes of flavors that are like being combined here to actually decide what might be good.
Yeah, I know that your fellow Team Liquid member Hungrybox has like a Hot Ones type show, Hot Juans, where he does like
Hot
spicy
Juans,
wings.
yeah.
You man, if you had like some sort of Dabuz show where you guys eat marinara licorice and fondue, I would watch that immediately.
I would be clicking immediately.
Give me some ideas.
All right, so the thing is, we gotta wrap that last course up with some nice beverages. So we got, on one hand, we got the chicken LaCroix, and on the other hand, we got soybean Sprite. So which one are you chugging?
What is chicken LaCroix? Oh,
LaCroix. I'm drinking a LaCroix.
Yeah,
It's like bubble water.
Yeah, it's sparkling water. A chicken chicken sparkling water sounds like watery chicken. I'm taking the other one. The
soybean Sprite.
The soybean Sprite. That sounds cool, honestly.
Actually, that doesn't sound that bad.
Right, doesn't sound guys sick. Honestly, because there's like lime Sprite before. I think Sprite is a lime-based like drink. I'm sure there's like other like fruity flavors of Sprite. So why not a vegetable-style flavor of Sprite?
Yeah. Do you think that like the liquid in Team Liquid is soybean Sprite this whole time? Is that what?
Ooh, it might be. Now I gotta ask them about it. I'm gonna hip liquid. What kind of liquid are we talking about here when we talk about
which liquid? Now this last one, it's a dessert. AV decided. This is an AV original. I'm gonna go out and say I think both these options sound okay, sound pretty good, but we'll let Dabuz decide. It's a nice grilled Snickers or fried jelly beans. I assume like deep fried, like they have a nice
Snickers. That sounds amazing.
Right?
That actually sounds amazing. Put a nice Snicker on the grill, get a nice like very crunchy Snickers, burn it a little bit, have like a nice warm inside so it like melts in your mouth. It's almost like leaving a Snickers out like in like a sunny day, not for too long, but just long enough. Oh my god, that actually sounds phenomenal.
Whew,
I didn't even re-listen to the second option to be honest after hearing this first one. That was an easy sell.
Okay, Dabuz, let me just say, man, having you on, I've learned a lot about Smash. It's been great picking your brain. I've learned a lot about myself, learned about like the culinary world. So for that, I thank you. Where can people reach you and support you if they want to thank you for being on the show?
So I stream almost daily at twitch.tv/Dabuz, and that's pretty much almost all my content is. And then I have a Twitter, which is @DabuzSenpai. I just tweet pretty often about a lot of stuff, food stuff, Smash stuff, and those are places to reach me. I also have a YouTube. It's just YouTube is just Dabuz, and those are the best places, to see my content. Simple enough.
Awesome, man. Well, yeah, and I have to double down and agree, man. If you're listening to the show, you will like Dabuz's content. He's very, mindful about the game. He talks about the game in his YouTube channels. He has these open-ended but practical discussion pieces on Smash that, and you're hearing it right from, ninth best player in the world. So it's a great way to improve your Smash game. Dabuz, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Yeah, no problem, guys. And I guess peace out.
Well, guys, that was our interview with Dabuz. AV, I know you enjoyed that. I certainly did as well. What a knowledgeable guy. When he isn't drinking, concoctions that would disturb me greatly. He seems to just be such a positive force.
So I ran some of these food suggestions by my friends, and they said that, first of all, soybean Sprite sounds amazing. They said that grilled Snickers sounds incredible.
Yeah, well, that's all you, Amy. I have to give you credit for that one.
So I think that, first of all, we're onto something, and second of all, I don't think that we offered him nearly as weird suggestions as we thought we did. At least I did, because both of those were on me. So
Dabuz, he has a brain for the game, clearly. But there has to be something wrong with him. It's like if you sell your soul to the devil, you'll get what you want at a great price. Like I think that like Dabuz may have sold his soul to the devil to become like a Smash god, but now he has this like weird uncanny ability, whether he wants it or not.
He just has an open mind. He's just saying he doesn't say these things are good. He just says he'll try them.
Yeah,
it's like his mom. Didn't his mom like suggest milk and Pepsi? Would you say no to your mom? Would you say if your mom says, "Hey, milk and Pepsi is this great thing," and your mom gives it to you, would you say no to it?
I would say no. I'd say, Mom,
You would say
you
no.
are no longer my mother. Where's Michelle? Where's Mila? No, I probably wouldn't. That said, you have a good point. I think the Buzz would be a fun person to travel with, AB, because I've eaten frogs. I've eaten man. No, I've not eaten man. But I've eaten some adventurous things. Let me just say, I've eaten some exotic. No, I'm just kidding. I can't get to this sentence. I've eaten a lot of weird stuff overseas, right? And even in America, I've eaten. I think he mentioned chocolate covered crickets at one point. I've also eaten that, and it tastes like Rice Krispie treat. So I feel like Dabuz and me, we should have like a travel series. Maybe you can come too, of course. The three of us were like in Peru. We're climbing Machu Picchu. I'd watch that.
Yeah. I would watch that too, admittedly, but I think the buzz just shows that with an open mind, I think there's always room for exploration, whether that's in food or whether that's in Smash. I think it was hilarious to see how his mind for Smash was so similar to the way that he analyzed the food that he intakes.
Yeah.
That part blew me away, because it was like, okay, this man is just consistent with how he acts and how he interacts with the world, and that made me really happy. I think he is everything that we thought he would be, and that does make me very happy.
That's one thing about Dabuz. I mean, I don't want to, I don't know. I don't want to kiss his ass so much, but I'm going to. I love when people are authentic. When people they have a brand, they stick to it, and they are who they are unapologetically. If there's one lesson we can learn from Dabuz that just has nothing to do with Smash, it's that just be yourself, and as long as you have an open mind and you're happy and you're nice to people, people will like you. People will gravitate towards you, even if you're weird. Not that Dabuz is weird, but you could be pretty strange, right? I mean, I think we're all kind of weird, Davey. I mean, you and I run a very niche Smash podcast, so by definition, we're weird. So I don't mean that with a negative connotation, but if you're not like an average person, but you're kind and you have an open mind, you will be loved. And I think that's why people love Dabuz. He just is who he is.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more, man. I love his authenticity, and it is infectious. I want to be more like myself already. It's
yeah. Well, Amy, no one's ever doubted your authenticity. Okay, no one, because if you no one would pick your brand if it wasn't just how you were.
Brutal, man, brutal.
All right, man. Well, hey, where can people find you, my good looking? I'm gonna be real nice. My good looking, super sexy Indian
All right,
friend.
yeah. Keep talking. People can find me at A plus my long Indian last name, which is Vaidyanatha, for those who are uneducated on the matter. Not to say that you are uneducated if you don't know my long Indian last name, but the thing is that it can be hard to figure out. But where you can find it for sure without having to learn it is on the Beyond the Metagame Twitter account. Now, the thing is that I have this midterm memory loss. Not short, not long, but within this time span of when we record every week, I forget what the Beyond the Metagame Twitter account handle is, and I have to rely on my trusty siege liege.
Your trusty siege liege? What the hell? What do you think I am? Maybe you think I'm just I'm I'm the leader of the cavalry, and I'm behind the trebuchet, and we're sieging down. How do you think this relationship actually is?
No, I think you're more like the captain of the siege tank. You played Terran in StarCraft, right?
I play Terran in StarCraft.
Oh, you play Terran.
I play StarCraft once a week. I love that game.
Yeah. So you're the captain of the siege tank, but you are the person that holds that information. So where is the Beyond Metagame Twitter account, Peon?
Well, I'm happy you threw this one to me because I do know where it's located. It is at Beyond Metagame. You heard me, guys, at Beyond Metagame. The show you are currently listening to, however, is called Beyond the Metagame. Hence, Twitter doesn't give a fuck. They never have. I don't think they will. Well, you get one per season, baby. You can find me personally at Peon_BTM. You heard me. Peon_BTM. That's a Bravo Tango Mike for all of you Siege Legions. Guys, as always, it's been a real pleasure. Stay safe out there. Keep your head up. And, keep doing good things. See ya! This episode was made possible, in part due to the support of our patrons. Two Tacos, Ampersand, Fart Daily, Hydra, Minlo, Ringo, Shaq Pernicus, Spencer, Westchester, Deem Guy, Booney, BK Otter, Butta, Campbell Soups, Cerebro, Donut, Danderson, Danny Boy, Dubai Poison, Weasel, Ferris, Kyle the Hero, Makatoon, Raya Sensei, Mobiert, Rubop the Dog, and Ultimate.